championships. Iona in the home whites and Niagara in the road grays. And by the way, Rob, in gray uniforms this year, Niagara is 5-1. They can use them at home, they can use them on the road, they can use them in a neutral site, and so far so good for the Purple Eagles.
Good tidbit, right? Sometimes coaches searching for a little bit of anything. I don't know that they're quite the Dallas Cowboys white jerseys, but we'll see.
Well,
or is it the blue? I forget.
I don't even know, but for as trivial as some of that stuff may seem to be, like you say, some coaches, some players very superstitious, and they have played well this year in their gray unis, which they are wearing here tonight. Machado left all by himself, and he hits.
Talk about being able to tee it up. He had plenty of time to go and read the rock on that basketball and knock it down.
Well, last year's MAAC Rookie of the Year. This year, averaging over 12 points per game. The only Gale in double figures on the season, and he's got the first three here tonight. Bilal Ben kicks it out. Garrison spotting up. Long rebound, Smythe has it. Off to his point guard, Machado. Long bounce pass cross court, Rashawn Dwight. And here is McGill. Rodriguez tips, and the Purple Eagles come away with it. Ben with a full head of steam, pulls it back out. Nice ball fake by Nelson. That's your point guard trying to throw it down in traffic.
Even with the miss, I love the way they're attacking the rim. Bilal Ben going with the head of steam, and that time Nelson going strong to the rim.
Dwight misses. Rodriguez cleans it up.
Well, that'll be another key all game long for Niagara. They've got to hold their own on the backboard. It's a smaller team. They've got to get their guards to come back and help rebound the basketball.
Tough shot by Tyrone Lewis. He wanted a foul called against Rashawn Dwight. And the long rebound goes out of bounds back to the Gales. Our coaching matchup brought to you by Anaconda Sports, home of the Rock, and Joe Mihalik in his 12th year as head coach of the Purple Eagles. He's a two-time MAAC Coach of the Year. And with this group, he won the MAAC championship 3 years ago. Traveling violation as we now get a chance to take a look at our other head coach in this matchup, Kevin Willard, in year number 3, and just named the 2010 MAAC Coach of the Year.
And as we said, a preseason pick to finish in 9th, certainly exceeding expectations and doing it with such a young team.
Well, we talked about motivation coming from lots of different places for this postseason tournament. We talked about riders Ryan Thompson feeling like they were motivated based on some of the things that have gone on during the season and the fact that they had not achieved expectations. We talked about Edwin Ubelis feeling like he had been snubbed, not being a first-team All-Star. And you talk about Iona using the fact that they were 9th in the preseason coaches poll all year long as motivation. Milan Pradanovic was very clear in saying we are driven by that coach's snub. And they have used that drive to go from 9 in the preseason to number 3 in the postseason with a very real shot at cutting down the nets on Monday night. At the line, Rashawn Dwight, a 6'3 junior out of Bloomfield Tech in Newark, New Jersey. Quick substitution for Joe Mihalik, and you see Demetrius Williamson, a 6'6 senior from Chicago, replacing Rob Garrison. Dwight gets 1 out of 2, and it's 6-0 Iona. Nelson, Ben, Williamson, Lewis, and Edwards, the 5 on the floor for Niagara.
See Alejo come and show his numbers on that hedge. Great job not allowing him to turn the corner.
Edwards gets his own miss. Back up strong for 2.
One-handed rebound to go get his own miss and finish inside. He's the X factor. You never know what you're going to get from Kashif Edwards.
Well, he's only 6'5", 195, but he can play big inside. He is 3rd in the conference in blocked shots. Got a whistle and a foul with an illegal screen off the ball.
Joe Mihalik was working for that call right from the start of the ball game. He thought Machado's first wide open 3. He thought it was wide open because off of the screen they backed in and cleared out space. So he worked it hard after that first shot, able to get the call.
Inside Ben, 6-4.
That's that slip. They take it right from the top, and he dives hard to the basket. They get that action a lot.
Bilal Ben, a senior from Philadelphia who spent 2 years playing for Jay Wright at Villanova before transferring to Niagara. Smythe for three.
Now, good execution, nice pin down on the screen. And Kyle Smythe, the guy that shoots it extremely well from beyond the three at 43% on the season. You got to be careful here. They run this a lot. You see coming off that screen, and Bilal Ben just slides right down, slipping the screen. They get a double, and then he dives to the goal. Guys are waiting to try and hedge on that screen, and then he just dives right down for the nice, easy layup.
So now Joe Mihalik immediately gets Garrison back in place of Edwards. Ben, catch and shoot off the inbound. No, Machado pulls it down.
They got to be able to find a better shot than that.
White misses with the right hand. And here comes Tyrone Lewis, the senior from Levittown, Pennsylvania.
Good energy from both teams. Might be late in the day. These guys have been ready to play. It's hard sitting around. Caged up. A lot of energy to start things off.
Yeah, but they're college kids. This is the time of night when they're just starting to wake up.
So not Eagles, but Night Owls, maybe?
Perhaps. 16-10 remaining first half in this fourth quarterfinal at the MAAC tournament here in Albany. Jonathan Huffman is checked into the game for Iona. Here's Machado off the crossover. Can't get the roll. Ball off of Garrison, and it'll be Iona possession when we come back. The Gales, 9-4 lead over Niagara here early in Albany. We're back at the Times Union Center in Albany. Iona with the early lead over Niagara, and we send it over to Vin Parisi.
Thanks, Doug. You know, in the two matchups this season, Iona defended the three-point shot extremely well against Joe Mihalik's team. Niagara shot 7 for 37 in those two games. They could defend the three-point shot like that tonight, and they play the best defensive transition of their lives against Niagara's offense. They feel like they'll have a good shot. Back to you guys.
Well, indeed, Ben, and you know, this explosive Niagara offense is spearheaded by Tyrone Lewis, the all-time Niagara leader in steals, three-pointers made, and a tournament hero time and again. This time of year is when Tyrone Lewis seems to shine the most.
Yeah, certain guys kind of live for the moment and know the moment, and he's one of those guys. He wills in shots when it's important. Doesn't have the greatest shot when it leaves his hands at times, but every time it's an important shot, it goes in. Got an uncanny ability to make big plays.
Well, the presence of 7-footer Jonathan Huffman forced Williamson to shuffle his feet and turn it over. Mike McFadden has come into the game for Iona, as has Jermel Jenkins. This Iona team will go 12 deep at any time. As you talked about, Rob, defense and depth, two of the benchmarks for this Gales club, looking for its 22nd win of the year. And on the switch off, Lewis appeared to be an easy mark. Instead, he steals it and gets it up to Ben.
Well, because of his size, you think he could throw it over top, but he's a terrific athlete, as he showed coming up with that steal and then quickly putting it ahead to Ben running the floor.
And as mentioned, nobody in the long history of Niagara University basketball has more steals than Tyrone Lewis, and add one to his list.
Last year's MAAC Defensive Player of the Year because of his ability to take away.
Huffman tries to gather. He is taller than everybody else around him, but he still travels.
You take a look at the athleticism of Lewis, just going up and getting the basketball, racking up those career numbers, historic numbers, not only at Niagara, third leading scorer in school history, but historic numbers across the back. The only player in the history of this league with over 1,500 points, 200 assists, 200 steals, and 500 rebounds. A little bit, no, make it a lot of a little bit of everything from Tyrone Lewis.
Yep, he goes into a category along with big names like Doug Overton and Randy Woods from LaSalle, Jason Rowe at Loyola, Keedron Clark at St. Peter's. He is similar in many ways and better in some. Well, if you're between the ages of 5 and 12, make sure to sign up for the MAAC Dance Clinic tomorrow, March 7th from 11 a.m. to noon here at the Times Union Center. Participants in the clinic will perform during halftime of the women's championship game To register or for more information, log on to MAACsports.com.
Hey, got a rebound, missed foul shots. Nothing drives a coach crazier than that. Finishing plays off. You're in perfect rebounding position. Just got to be able to make contact.
Trinity Fields called for the foul. Austin Cooley checks in for Niagara, replacing Nelson. 9-7, Iona with the lead. Niagara with the basketball. And here's Rob Garrison, a 6'2 senior from Niagara Falls. He transferred back from the University of Connecticut for his final 2 years of eligibility to play for the hometown Purple Eagles. Lewis, tough shot with McGill's hand right in his face. That's a 2-point shot. And we are tied at 9.
And for most guys, it's a bad shot. But those are the types of shots that Tyrone Lewis has made his entire career. Guarded deep shots, he really elevates when he takes that jump shot.
Well, he is the only freshman in the history of this conference to be named tournament MVP. Back in 2007 in the championship game, Lewis came off the bench and scored 24 points to lead Niagara past Siena. He has been a hero last year in the tournament, banking in a 30-foot shot against Ryder to help force overtime and then help them win in double overtime. Williamson with the offensive rebound.
Well, they're flying around, and this is what you usually had seen from Niagara teams. When we saw them in January, they were penguins. They were grounded. They weren't flying around. This is the energy that Joe Mihalik's looking for from his team.
Nice job by Ben to accept the pass and find Williamson.
They said it's amazing. We won the game against Siena, and that was a springboard. He said confidence-wise, but also we started remembering how we were successful, how we played with energy, with passion, with enthusiasm. They lost that in the middle of the season and weren't the type of Niagara team that we've become accustomed to seeing. Well, Lewis just stepping up, eyeing the basket there, and the elevation on the release, and that this is just good ball movement. Bilal Ben collapses the defense inside, unselfishly kicks it out as Williamson steps right in.
There you see Niagara on the 8-0 run.
And it's been a run because they've had energy, pushing the pace, getting up and down the floor, flying around.
Garrison, nice job to get to the rim.
And he's been bothered with the sore hip. You and I saw it in that last regular season game, limping around. Not limping on that play as he got all the way to the rim.
Iona down 5. Fields. Fouled by Williamson, who then finished the play to make sure no shot was taken. But the foul comes before the shot and takes us to break. Another chance to see Rob Garrison, the senior out of Niagara Falls, helping Niagara to a 5-point lead. Listening to the Niagara Pep Band here in Albany, New York. Niagara with the 5-point lead. Purple Eagles on a 10-0 run. And of the many things that Niagara does well as we go inside the play, the slip screen has always been one of them under the head coach, Joe Mihalik.
Well, they get good movement without the basketball. Let it run right here. You see a little UCLA cut coming off the high ball screen. Freeze it right there. And that's where he ducks them in, thinks that it's going to be a screen, slips and dives to the basket. You see the defender on the high side. That allows Bilal Ben on the clear out, coming off that UCLA cut, getting out into the corner. He's got room to maneuver as he dives to the basket.
Iona trying to penetrate the zone. They do so from the front, and Machado able to get the roll.
And Joe Mihalik looking for a travel. I don't think there was. Machado does a great job of keeping his feet on the floor.
We can hear Joe Mihalik screaming, that's a foul, but it goes into the books as a turnover.
First time we've seen the full court pressure from the Gales Talking earlier today with Kevin Willard, he said, you know what? Late in the season and against a team we've played a couple of times, I don't think we're going to press as much as we've done throughout the season. The press, one of the weapons that Iona has really used to their advantage, he said, will be much more judicious with the press. Didn't get the initial turnover, but forced it late.
Spin by Machado and the finish.
Now we talk about his ability to have that great balance. 2 feet on the floor. He's very strong. You see him jump stop a lot. Right here, feet on the floor on the spin. Takes the contact, able to finish the play.
Now, Rob, this is very premature on my part, but I have been thinking all year about wanting to see Scott Machado face Derek Needham at some point in the postseason tournament. Needham and the Fairfield Stags are waiting for the winner of this ball game, and that would be one of the great matchups of this tournament if it were to come about.
Kevin Willard wants to see that too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. But there are similarities. But there are similarities between the two of them that have always intrigued me, the way they play the basketball game.
And both of them utilize that high ball screen so much. And they play it a little bit different because Needham's a guy that goes at that high ball screen with a little bit more reckless abandon. Turn the corner and fly through the lane. Machado, a little bit more under control, always with that low center of gravity, and always with his feet on the floor. You never see him leave the floor to go pass it. You saw it a little bit as a freshman, haven't seen it as a sophomore.
Well, they're the last two rookies of the year here in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Ben double-teamed with 5 to shoot. Lewis fires away, comes up well short, and Dwight has the rebound. Here is Machado with Williamson defending. Back to Pradanovic, who traveled. Talk about being shot ready. Pradanovic wasn't ready for that pass. There is Machado, 6'1" sophomore from Queens.
Well, he collapsed the defense, nearly had an assist. But Pradanovic, a guy that shoots the basketball well throughout his career, in a big-time slump now, just one of his last 13 three-point shot attempts. When you're struggling, all of a sudden it's in your mind, and so you're worried about getting set to catch the basketball, shuffle the feet, and turn it over. You got to step into shots with great confidence.
Just past the midpoint here in the first half of our final quarterfinal.
See the switch on that ball screen. When it's guard to guard, they'll switch it. When it's a big, they come out and head.
Dwight blocked the shot. It goes out of bounds with 16 seconds to shoot. And so Nelson will inbound. Richard McGill comes back in for Iona, replacing Jenkins. Inbound to Williamson, size advantage, and he scores over Machado.
Good patience. The initial screen, cutter wasn't open. Great look inside by Machado.
Well, we talk about Anthony Johnson and the way he is built for Fairfield. Bilal Ben similarly for Niagara. And both are seniors who have bulked up and really look a lot different than a lot of the players that are around them. Nice feed inside of the layup for Rashawn Dwight. Nelson, the junior from Plainfield, New Jersey. Wild shot and a foul on the floor. Personal against Dwight. And it'll be a 1-and-1. There you see Bilal Ben, 6'5", from Philadelphia, and as mentioned, played a couple of years in the Big East Conference before transferring to Niagara, but he is one of the preeminent rebounders at only, well, let's see what they list him at, 6'5", 205, but he certainly looks bigger than that and plays bigger than that, and he's got a nose for the basketball, something you talked about earlier.
Yeah, he goes after it. You see his upper body strength, and that's what you were alluding to. I mean, he is a physical specimen, and he is so strong and powerful. Talk about a guy that gets someplace so quick and then is able to power through people. And early in the season at times, remember, he missed a couple of games and was out with arthroscopic knee surgery, missed 3 games, and when he first came back, he wasn't attacking the rim with that same type of reckless abandon that we've seen now here coming on late in the season. One of the reasons why, if you look at it, and Joe Mihalik admitted it, didn't have quite as good a season as people expected. Remember, he and Tyrone Lewis were both first-team All-MAAC selections last year, preseason selections this year, but both ended up being on the second team when awards were given out on Thursday.
So both missed some time due to injuries, and both seem to be at full strength right now. And Ben is somebody who is so versatile that at both the offensive end and the defensive end, he can create unbelievable mismatches on the offensive end, and defensively, you can use him to guard anybody.
Well, that's the thing. He can play multiple positions on both sides of the floor. Some guys can guard multiple positions but can't play it on the offensive end, and vice versa. He can do it both ways. One of the reasons why they can play small or they can play big, because he can go inside or go outside.
Right, and it's not uncommon to see what looks like a 5-guard offense, but if Ben's in there, you can easily have him working inside. Edwards fouled by McGill.
Anytime you get the ball into the paint, good things are going to happen. Putting the ball on the floor, Chief Edwards an opportunity to finish through that contact. Been playing well over the last 6 ball games, averaging nearly 10 points per game, picking up his scoring.
Well, if you're between the ages of 6 and 16, you should probably be getting to bed. But if you're still up, make sure to register from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow at Albany City Hall for the MAAC Bounce to the Arena. Participants will receive a basketball that they will bounce along a planned route from Albany City Hall down to where we are sitting right here at the Times Union Center. Participants will also receive admission to the Women's Championship game. For more information, log on to MAACsports.com. Ben passes to the corner. Garrison along the baseline. A bit out of control, but a blocking foul called. And Garrison will shoot 2 when we come back. Niagara on top, 20-18. Back here at the Times Union Center in Albany, Niagara with a 2-point lead over Iona, 20-18. Doug Sherman, Rob Kennedy, and Vin Parisi. We will be back here tomorrow for the men's semifinals as well as the women's championship game. And then on Monday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN2, the men's MAAC championship game, where one of these 5 teams remaining will win the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament.
And not long before you have to say later today we'll be back for our semifinal. Long day of basketball. As we said, these teams sitting around all day long.
Well, what's harder, getting up for a 9:30 a.m. game, as many of the women's teams here in this tournament have had to do the last couple of days, or sitting around all day, as you say, Rob, and waiting for a 10 p.m. tip?
Well, you just got to make sure that you're smart about how you spend your day, and you're not on your feet the whole time, but as well that you're not sitting around. You got to distract yourself. Some of the Iona coaching staff and players were over here for the women's semifinal game as the Gales lost a heartbreaker to Fairfield. So Kevin Willard was over here watching the game, and you find things to do to try and keep yourself occupied to get yourself to a 10 o'clock start that was more like a 10:30 start.
Keon Williams, redshirt freshman from Hackensack, New Jersey, earning his trip to the free throw line.
And Williams, a guy that comes in and gives him energy, and certainly Kevin Willard puts you to work, because you got to make sure you've got that roster all the way up and down, because they will play as many as 12 guys running in and out. Those fresh legs have allowed them to be aggressive defensively throughout the season, even though they're not pressing as much as they were earlier in the year. Still important for them to utilize their depth to their advantage.
And And that formula of having a deep bench has led to 21 victories this year. Iona has won 12 of its last 15 games to ascend to the number 3 seed here in the postseason tournament.
And already 11 different Gales in the ball game, and Mockford and Pelcher still could see action, so as many as 13 guys. And you don't see that a lot, especially late in the season. You see so many teams shorten their bench. Kevin Willard with terrific confidence in all of his players to utilize that to his advantage.
7 minutes remaining first half. Niagara with the ball. On top by 2. Smythe called for the foul on Lewis. Near steal by the redshirt freshman out of River Edge, New Jersey.
Quick chance to come up with the steal, and then you're back out on the run. You think you're going to get on the run, but good hustle back by Garrison to take it right back.
And so at the free throw line, Tyrone Lewis, you see, 3rd in school history in career scoring. He's not going to catch Calvin Murphy with 25-48, and he won't catch Juan Mendez 22-10. Lewis has caught who he's going to catch, but he has climbed through the ranks, and it is a spot that his head coach Joe Mihalik saw for him right from the time he was recruiting him as a high school star in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Van out, Williamson in. Iona down 4 with the ball.
Nice switch by Williamson to take away a potential 3 by Smythe.
And now Scooter Gillette comes into the ball game for Niagara, another freshman from Philadelphia. And while this year's Niagara team has not gotten nearly the contribution in terms of points and rebounds and minutes as it typically does from incoming freshmen, usually there's an impact freshman as the roster evolves and changes from year to year. That doesn't mean there's a deficiency in talent in the freshman class for Niagara.
No, especially from Scooter Gillette, a guy who has tremendous upside potential, and we've started to see that late in the season.
Foul as Smith drove into the lane. Anthony Nelson called for his first personal foul. And the 6th against Niagara. And here's Machado. 6:13 remaining first half. Fields, nice fake to get himself free along the baseline.
Oh, good job not settling that release dribble to give yourself some separation, and smart not to over-penetrate. Got to have that pull-up jumper.
There you go, Scooter Gillette off the nice feed from Nelson.
Now there's some of that upside potential. And as we said, we've been seeing that coming down the stretch, averaging over 9 points per game in his last 3 with high percentage shots. Now 13 out of 17 from the floor coming down the stretch of this season.
Well, his last 2 regular season games, last Friday at Manhattan and then last Sunday at Fairfield, he scored 11 points in each of those 2 games. And 2 quick points off the bench here tonight. Answer by Keon Williams, the redshirt freshman from Hackensack.
And he got the answer because of the pump fake. Got the defender in the air, patience to allow him to get by and then score.
Tyrone Lewis, it rattles out. Williamson, the offensive rebound. That pass was intended for Nelson, picked off by Garrison, and then he took a tough shot.
Maybe it should have gone to Nelson.
Yeah. Smythe with some room. A little too strong. Garrison pulls down the rebound.
Can't get a better look from a better three-point shooter.
Lewis hangs, gets it back, sees that his teammate Nelson is wide open. No, there's Gillette on the offensive glass. Back to Tyrone Lewis for 3.
Well, if you're going to get that many opportunities because of your offensive rebounding, you're going to cash in on that MAAC. A timeout from Joe Mihalik.
And what would the thought be there for Joe Mihalik after this terrific effort on the offensive end, time and again? Purple Eagles got multiple opportunities and finally got it out to Lewis, who said enough of this missing. He put it in, but why would Joe Mihalik immediately call a timeout here with 4:23? Mihalik was jumping up and down from the bench as soon as that ball went through, telling Tyrone to call that timeout.
Yep. We'll see if he switches things up on the defensive end or changes something up. But clearly saw something that he wanted to use that timeout to change.
Well, the statistic is always second chance points, but in that case, second, third, fourth, and fifth chance points. 9-2, and there's Joe showing some of the hops that he had back at LaSalle University in the day. There you see the 12th year head coach. Well, there's a look at our TV schedule for Sunday. The women's championship at noon, followed by the 4 o'clock first men's semi between Rider and Siena. And then the second semifinal to follow at the Times Union Center. And be sure to check your local listings along the MAAC television network. Gillette called for the foul as he and Williams were banging bodies on the low post.
A little too aggressive trying to establish the inside position.
There again, a look at that schedule. The winner of this ball game will take on Fairfield in that second semifinal tomorrow night. And of course, the MAAC championship game on the men's side, 7 o'clock on Monday night. Tickets are still available, although as long as Siena stays in, expect it to be a hot ticket.
Well, Ben was thinking about attacking the rim, realized he didn't have numbers, yet still trying to probe.
Nice job by Williams to come up with a steal and now lead the break. In traffic behind his back, nearly lost it. And the Gales very lucky to still have it. Smythe still can't find the range. Ball out of bounds, and it's Iona basketball. Joe Mihalik's Niagara Purple Eagles on top by 5 late in the first half. Niagara with a 5-point lead over Iona here late in the first half of our men's quarterfinal action. This is the men's and women's basketball championship in Albany, but plenty of championships to come later on this spring in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Most notably, coming up next, rowing at Mercer Lake in West Windsor, New Jersey. That near you in Jersey?
Oh, I'm on the shore. We row a little bit out there, but no, just head across 195. But certainly a number of different sports as we crown MAAC champions throughout the year.
Rashawn Dwight, nice job to get into the paint and knock down that little mid-range shot. Now, Rob, we've talked for years about it, and you've referenced it here today, as we've referenced a lot of things today.
It's a long day.
That too many players over-penetrate. But that situation right there, Dwight understood that if I take it farther to the rim, I'm going to run into the defender. So he pulls up from 7 feet and has himself a much easier shot than if he had taken one more dribble.
And the other key is staying on the floor, not leaving your feet. Too many guys leave their feet and then try to decide what they're going to do. Having that good center of gravity, that balance, 2 feet underneath you, coming to that jump stop gives you some options.
Gillette, the air ball, pulled down by Richard McGill. McGill, Dwight, Pradanovich, Machado, and Rodriguez on the floor for Iona. The Gales in their home white uniforms as the higher seed in this quarterfinal. Machado drops it off, and Rodriguez missed the first, and now he's going to have to earn it at the free throw line, and you can see his frustration being taken out on the basket support after missing the easiest layup he's going to get all night.
And he doesn't miss many, shoots it at 68%. Here's what you were talking about, the penetration, getting into the lane. Look at that jump stop, and when he comes to the jump stop, you give yourself options. If people collapse and you don't have a shot, you're able to kick it out. Staying under control and under balance Great teaching point for guards as you attack and get into the paint.
And Rashawn Dwight, as a 6'3" junior from Newark, New Jersey, one of 2 co-captains on the team, along with Rodriguez, who here shows his frustration. We talk about the fact that he is a high percentage finisher.
Yeah, 68% from the floor, just 46% from the foul line, so may as well have been some of his frustration.
He is able to rattle that one home.
Yeah, shooters get the shooter's roll. Guys that shoot it at 46%, you rattle it home.
Yep. But he pulls Iona back within a point. Just over 2 minutes left here in the first half. Garrison still with the dribble. Tough reverse. McFadden held his ground nicely, and here come the Gales. The ball hasn't touched the floor, and they get a layup.
There's those fresh legs, right? Running guys in and out of the ball game allows them to run up and down the floor.
The perfect fast break without a single bounce of the basketball.
And quick. It was a fast break. Outrunning them up the floor.
First 2 points for Rashard McGill, the freshman from Havana, Florida. Ben misses the turnaround. Pradanovic knocked it away from Dwight, and it looked like it would be Niagara basketball. Bilal Ben is pleading the case, but the ruling is for Iona. Here's that fast break.
Well, as you said, never touched the floor, and look at how they ran the basketball up the floor. McGill attacking the rim. Terrific sharing of the basketball. Textbook fast break.
1:10 remaining first half. The winner of this ball game will take on Fairfield tomorrow night. Machado fakes the pass to Pradanovic. And the foul called against Williamson, who was saying that he was actually hooked by the offensive player, but Williamson gets called for the personal. And so Machado shooting the 1-and-1. That is the 9th team foul against Niagara. And the 2nd personal foul against Williamson. Well, Machado was a high school teammate of Cleveland Cavaliers rookie Danny Green when they were together at St. Mary's High School. That was before Machado transferred to St. Benedict's. And Machado was one of 38 nominees for the Bob Cousy Award. He didn't make the next cut down to the final 11.
There's why Williamson was looking for the off-arm swim. In the NBA, that's an easy one. They send it the other way. Got away with clearing some space with the off-arm.
There you see Iona on the 8-0 run to retake this lead, 32-29. Foul on Dwight, his 2nd. And so Anthony Nelson was on the all-rookie team a couple of years ago at the line. He averages 10 points per game this season and 4th in the league in assists. Well, we talked about tickets. They sold 8,914 for this afternoon session. Big crowds expected both tomorrow and Monday. But it's not too late for you to get your tickets for the Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships. Now through Monday here at the TU Center in Albany. Get your tickets by calling 1-800-30-EVENT or by logging on to timesunion.com. The Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships, where magic happens. And you know what? With the weather as beautiful as it's been and will be this weekend, come on down. Yeah, you can go to the ticket window here at the Times Union Center. They'll sell you a ticket.
And Anthony Nelson continues his struggles from the line. In that overtime loss against Fairfield, he was just 4 of 10 from the foul line, as the foul line really why they weren't able to pull out the win. Let's take a look at what's coming up here at halftime. And Nelson just 1 of 3 from the line so far here tonight. Not the type of foul shooting numbers you want from your point guard.
No. On the year, Nelson 69%. As a team, Niagara's got good shooters from the line in terms of their other primary ball handlers, Garrison, Lewis, and Ben. Nelson gets the roll on the 2nd. Under 1 minute remaining here in the half. Niagara back within 2. And that snaps the 8-0 Iona run. Double team runs at Machado. He spins away from it. Let's see if Iona can cash it in. They can't. And a big rebound by Eric Williams.
And second time we've seen McGill leave it short on the backboard. You got to get it up in that box. Give it a chance.
Shot clock is off. Niagara down 2.
A lot of times coming down the shot clock, they'll just allow them to flatten out and let Nelson go make a play.
5 seconds left in the half. He kills the dribble in a bad spot. Lob to Williams with 1 second, and it's taken away. They would have been better off flattening out and going one-on-one, because they never got off a shot in that set, and Niagara heads to the locker room trailing Iona.
Despite the fact that they did not shoot it well from the floor at just 35%, some extra opportunities because of their defense.
You see the recheck of the star watch. 7 for Lewis, 10 for Machado. Actually, Niagara didn't have a field goal for the final 4:25 of that first half, and they turn it over on their first possession of the second half. And that enabled Iona to go on an 8-0 run against Joe Mihalik's club and take that 2-point lead at the intermission. Machado into Rodriguez.
Oh, nice set. Doing a good job clearing space inside. Catch and finish. That's why he shoots it at 68%.
Well, we didn't hear much from Rodriguez in that first half, now with just 6 points total. Ben, Garrison, Edwards, Nelson, and Lewis starting for Niagara in their road gray uniforms as the lower seed. Garrison misses. Rodriguez comes down, and a traveling violation call as he lost his balance on his way to the floor. Iona starts McGill, Smythe, Machado, Rodriguez, and Dwight here in the second half. Ben trying to impose his will, can't get the roll, and there's Rodriguez to pull down the miss. Smythe lost it on the way up. Perhaps Lewis got a piece, and then the putback by the trailer, McGill.
Iona with good energy here to start this second half, much like we saw from them at the start of the ball game. And Niagara was able to match that energy throughout the first half. Interesting to see, Doug, as the game wears on. Remember, Iona plays a lot of guys, so you get fresh legs. On the other side, a lot of guys logging a lot of minutes for the Purple Eagles.
First field goal in 6 minutes for Niagara. Cuts the lead back down to 4. McGill, strong move, too strong off the glass. Coming away with it, Garrison. Although 3 Iona defenders get back, and Niagara will set up. Garrison still with the dribble. Nice little shovel pass, and free throws upcoming for Niagara.
Machado advancing the basketball, not with the dribble, but instead feeding it ahead. Lewis got a piece of the initial shot attempt, with good hustle by McGill to clean it up on the offensive glass.
And here is Kashif Edwards, a 6'5" sophomore from Philadelphia. Joe Mihalik is a Philadelphia native who spent 17 seasons as an assistant coach at LaSalle University, including many of those years here in the MAAC. And because of that and his ties to Philadelphia, he has used that as a very fertile recruiting ground. Every year over the 12-year tenure for Niagara, it seems like 3 or 4 guys from Philly or the Philadelphia area. And they have been prominent players that he has pulled away from the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, gotten a lot of points out of Philly. Think of Sherrod Fisher, Tyrone Lewis, the extended Philadelphia area.
Fran McCaffrey, his old classmate at LaSalle High School, doing the same thing, getting Philly kids to come up to Siena over the last 5 years. 17:45 left to go in regulation. Pass carries back to the backcourt. Out of bounds.
Never touched, so it'll be inbounded back along the baseline.
Niagara gets it back, down by 2. Niagara at 17 and 14 this year. But this is a team that has reached the MAAC finals 5 of the last 8 years, including winning it twice. Certainly a threat to get to Monday's game again this year. Dwight takes it away from Nelson. With plenty of Gray around him, he lays it in.
He's had a good game, giving him energy, hand in the passing lane. Niagara handled the full court pressure, but then sloppy once they got into the half court.
9 points for the junior out of Newark, New Jersey. Back to a 4-point Iona lead. Anthony Nelson directing traffic. This pass was intended for Edwards, who looked away and cleared the spot. He was trying to direct Edwards a couple of times to get out of there. He finally did, and then passed him the ball. Rodriguez has his pocket picked by Bilal Ben.
Quick, strong hands. Everything about Bilal Ben is strong.
Rodriguez blocks Ben's shot. The shot clock down to 22. Edwards. No. Rodriguez playing very active on the glass, pulls it down.
And credit Dwight for good post defense. Even though he was giving up a lot of size on that post up to Edwards, he held his ground.
Machado thinks about it and now pulls it out with the bounce. Machado made second team All-MAAC. The only double-figure scorer on the season for this very deep and very balanced Iona team. But they turn it over back to the Purple Eagles. We'll step away with 15:57 remaining in regulation. Rashawn Dwight, the takeaway and the finish at the other end. The junior captain is doing it all for Iona. Apparently the Iona Gale has been worn out. Long day of basketball here at the Times Union Center, taking a nap.
It was that mascot game that drained his energy. That or that huge head he's going to walk around with all day.
You'd be tired too.
One of the two.
Well, again, we encourage you to go to facebook.com/MAAC Sports. And we've got some of the comments for you from some of the viewers talking about voting for the Men's Player of the Decade. Grant Hazley says Juan Mendez. Nick Mira says Luis Flores. And Sheila Harris has chimed in saying, what about Nakia Miller of Iona? I like Nakia Miller. He's one of my favorite players.
When we had to come up with the nominees for Players of the Decade for each of the schools, he was one of our nominees, but didn't make the cut because he didn't play enough years inside of the decade.
Again, Ronnie from Manhattan continues to chime in saying Luis Flores.
And who could disagree with Ronnie?
Right. He knows of what he speaks. Machado off the feed from Smythe, well short. Niagara down 4 with the basketball. Garrison has it knocked away from behind by Dwight. Here comes Machado, crosses over Williamson. Good hustle by Lewis to go flying through the cheerleaders and up into the third row to stop that layup from occurring.
How about his athleticism just to make sure he didn't hurt himself? Hurdling the pipe and drape. Watch Machado, spins, keeps the defender on his hip, crosses over, utilizes his body. That is a great job of keeping the basketball away from the defender. Watch Lewis here. Hop, skip, jump over everything. I mean, he is one athletic player.
Sure is. You know, on SportsCenter at the end of the month of February, they did their top plays of the month, and Lewis's tip dunk in that win over Siena made it onto the top plays, and he is a incredible athlete at 5'10" or so, 5'11" maybe. He plays above the rim with the best of them. And if he hadn't hustled back to make that play, I think Machado might have been able to get that shot to go, even though Williamson was doing his level best to stop it. Jenkins in, Dwight out. And Scooter Gillette will check in at the next stoppage, which is now. Machado makes the second, and Gillette will come in. And Demetrius Williamson will head to the bench.
Non-made foul shots. They stay up in the 2-2-1 full court pressure. They've been running all over the place with the press, just forcing Niagara to handle the basketball. And now once they get themselves into the half court, it slows them down. That was one of the game plans of Kevin Willard coming in, trying to force them to score in the half court, not allow the game to go up and down where Niagara's much more comfortable. You can press to speed them up, and you can press to slow them down. We've seen them do both.
Nelson on the drive, fouled by Rodriguez. And so, as we talked about, Nelson only a 69% foul shooter. At the stripe for 2. Looks good on the first.
And after struggling from the line in their overtime loss at the end of regulation, coming down the stretch last time out against Fairfield, Niagara's been very good at the line. Of course, as soon as I say that, we get a miss.
But then the offensive rebound, and now an offensive foul called against Nelson. Third personal foul against Nelson. And the Gales of Iona are pumped up. The number 3 seed leading the number 6 seed from Niagara. And now, as you see, Nelson takes a seat with those 3 personal fouls.
You can see a bit winded, and that'll be something to keep an eye on, as we were talking about. The depth of Iona, where it really comes into play, is late in the ball game. With so many guys in and out of the ball game, you get fresher legs.
Jonathan Huffman back into the game for the first time this half, and here is Huffman, the 3-point specialist. Off the mark that time. Lewis trying for the quick response, can't do it. And the rebound comes down to the Gales. Jermel Jenkins will dribble up.
And if that's anybody else, it's a bad shot. But those are the shots that Lewis has made throughout his career. A little quick. You've got to think on a possession. You can find a better look. But when it's him, I think that Joe Mihalik will live with it.
I would agree. And he shoots it at a good enough clip at 37%. And with all of his goodwill over the last 4 years built up from all the big shots he has made, why not? Ben working on Smythe. And Niagara pulls it back out. Shot clock continues to wind down at 21. Garrison fights through the hand check and then has the pass go right through and out of bounds. Gillette couldn't come up with it.
Yeah, right through the 5-hole right there. The bench of Iona allows them to keep those fresh legs, but that's a catch that Gillette's got to come up with and score it. You cannot allow that basketball to go out of bounds. You're down 5. Your guard does a good job of getting into the lane and create an opportunity for you. You got to catch. Instead, it's a 12th turnover.
Smythe goes around Garrison from the foul line. No, Lewis the rebound.
And he's got to continue to work on that, because the way he shoots it, anytime he ball fakes, guys are going to come run at him. You got to be able to put it to the deck one time and pull up and finish.
Points have been hard to come by in the second half for Niagara, but Ben picks up 2.
A tough 2. Foot on the line, guarded deep 2s. You don't want to have to live on those types of shots.
And the 5th-year senior from Philadelphia, as you see now with 6 points and 6 rebounds. He averages 13.5 points and 9.9 rebounds a game. And the takeaway by Ben.
So strong with those hands.
And there you go, the power forward, if you will, for Niagara, beating the pressure and then getting on the offensive glass.
Well, doing it at both ends. He's an energy guy, creating it with his defense, just ripping that basketball away from the freshman McGill, and then getting after it on the offensive glass.
We talked about the young man's versatility on the basketball court in the first half. 2-time player of the week in the conference this year and a second-team all-conference player. Foul on the drive by Machado. That takes us to our next media timeout. We'll take a break from the capital of New York State, Iona, by 1.
At St. Peter's College, success is a team effort. St. Peter's College, education one student at a time.
On Thursday, Kevin Willard became just the third Iona Gale ever to be named MAAC Coach of the Year after Tim Welsh, who got it in 97 and 98. And Uncle Pat Kennedy back in 1984. And Willard, the 2010 MAAC Coach of the Year. He's done a terrific job in his first head coaching opportunity, but he had been an assistant for a long, long time under Rick Pitino.
A great pedigree coming in, and certainly learned the trade not only from his dad, Ralph Willard, who now is an assistant to Rick Pitino, but around the game from a young age, and done a great job. Remember, took over a program that had just 2 wins in the season before he got here. Turned around to 21 wins just a couple of years later. One of the reasons why he was honored as the MAAC Coach of the Year.
And Willard grew up on Long Island, but moved with his family, of course, when his dad got the job out at Western Kentucky. So he played his high school ball out in Kentucky and then attended Western Kentucky and also Pittsburgh when his dad took the Pitt Panthers job. And now the second generation of Willards getting an opportunity as a Division I head coach.
And both his mentors, his dad and Pitino, with a big win earlier today in the last basketball game played at Freedom Hall.
See, I was really against bringing up Pitino in that segment for fear that you might have to mention that game.
I did notice you didn't have an orange tie on, but you got a lot to crow about this season. Your alma mater having one heck of a season, just can't handle the cards. And that will certainly cement Louisville as a lock as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned. I thought they were a lock anyway, but all doubt erased with a second win over a #1 seed, a projected #1 seed in Syracuse.
All right, let's get back to this game, Rob. I was going to mention that, we've talked about it a bit. Milan Pradanovic and Alejo Rodriguez, the only 2 holdovers from the previous regime that won only 2 games during their freshman season under head coach Jeff Ruland, and it is amazing to see the culture change in such a relatively short period of time. Well, it is just about to be midnight. Seconds away here in downtown Albany from Saturday turning into Sunday, a long day of basketball. And again, for our crew here inside the arena, they are on their 6th ball game. 2 women's semifinals and 4 men's quarterfinals. And they will be back bright and early to get ready for the women's championship early tomorrow.
Yeah, talk about a tough turnaround. They had that 6:30 crew call, and they've been at it for a long, long time. So you and I just get to babble for 4 games. They have the tough job.
No question about that. 2-shot foul. Cooley is whistled for his 3rd. It's just the 5th against Niagara here in the second half. And so Rodriguez to the line, as we talked about in the first half, only a 46% foul shooter. He missed the 07-08 season after back surgery. Now the clock striking midnight literally here inside the building. And figuratively for one of these 2 teams, whoever winds up on the short end of the final score.
And a close ball game. Every opportunity from the line, so important.
Niagara with a chance to retake the lead.
Iona in their zone defense. They've played mostly man-to-man here tonight. Out of the zone, they match so much that late in the possession, it basically becomes man-to-man.
9 minutes gone here in the second half. Lefty scoop shot, rims off. Rodriguez with another rebound for Iona.
Garrison got deep in the lane, but that was a tough finish.
Iona has gone cold. No field goals since the 17:28 mark of this second half. Lewis, offensive foul.
Well, you see Iona sliding over, trying to take away, giving up their body. A couple of times that we've seen them be able to draw the charge.
Milan Ferdanovic coming back into the ball game as we show you once again Doug Sherman, Rob Kennedy, and Vin Parisi here at the Times Union Center in Albany. And we take a look at our TV schedule for Sunday. The women's championship later on today, a noon tip. And then the men's semifinals get underway with Ryder against Siena at 4 o'clock. Be sure to check your local listings along the MAAC television network. Machado, Jenkins, and Ferdanovic, along with Fields and Rodriguez, and the strip by the all-time steal king in school history, and he turns it into 2. Tyrone Lewis.
Now nobody able to step in front and pick up the charge that time. Tyrone Lewis doing what he does, a little bit of everything. Padding that all-time assist record and getting a quick 2 at the other end.
Going coast to coast to give his Purple Eagles the lead once again. Prolonged offensive drought. Niagara finds itself on top 43-42 midway through the second half, and Rob Kennedy, defense so often turns to offense for Tyrone Lewis.
Well, he's got quick hands, and then he converts those steals at the other end, attacking the rim, going right at Machado, putting him in a tough position. But it all starts with the quickness on the defensive end, getting a hand in there and coming up with the steal.
There you see the 5'11 senior from Levittown, Pennsylvania, out of Truman High School. Fairly close ball game throughout, although it's been Niagara playing catch-up more often than not. Iona led at the break 32-30.
But the Gales have never been able to get a whole lot of separation.
Iona's largest lead was 6. And Niagara's largest lead has been 5. Fields off the mark. How about Lewis going up and over everybody for that rebound? And then the foul against McGill.
And you see Bilal Ben grabbing him right there. And that's a sign of the seniors saying, you know what, it's time to take over. And when you talk to Joe Mihalik and you ask him, what turned things around for you? And he'll tell you straight out, it was our seniors making plays and deciding that we were going to play like we used to play. And that's what Tyrone Lewis did on that rebound. Going after it with a reckless abandon.
Joe Mihalik's Purple Eagles have reached 5 of the last 9 MAAC championship games, trying to get there for a 6th time this decade this Monday night. The folks who are clad in purple sitting over our left shoulder continuing to root on their Purple Eagles. Now the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship first and second rounds return to HSBC Arena in Buffalo March 19th and 21st. For ticket information, log on to ncaa.com/MBB tickets. 4th foul on Rodriguez sends him to the Iona bench. And now Cooley goes out, replaced by Williamson for Niagara. Ben strong to the bucket, and he gets it to go.
Well, when he faces up, catch square, and then attack the rim, he is so hard to guard and keep away from the rim.
12 points for the 6'5 senior from Philadelphia, and it's a 3-point Niagara lead. For the tie, Machado can't do it. And Ben says, Anthony Nelson, you are not ripping that ball away from me.
Said, I'm trying to get myself another double-double here.
12 double-doubles on the year for Bilal Ben coming into this ball game,
including 4 out of the last 6, trying to make it 5 out of 7.
And I've got him at 12 points and 8 rebounds, so very much within reach here tonight. Smythe with the steal. Here goes Machado trying to score over Lewis, who let him go. Machado missed it but got it back.
Well, there is his strength and athleticism coming through.
Why would Tyrone Lewis in that circumstance, and it worked out perfectly, drop back as he did?
Well, he didn't want to pick up a foul. Remember, he had one the last time that Machado attacked the rim. Machado converted the 2 foul shots, so he just backed up. He got the miss, but they didn't finish the possession by rebounding the ball.
And so Iona makes him pay. McFadden with a chance for 3.
Machado does such a great job off those high ball screens. Here it comes. You see a little pick and roll, and he does a great job with the bounce pass. So fundamentally sound. Look at that. Nice little bounce pass. Doesn't make a pretty play. He makes the right play. Remember, he played his high school basketball for one of the top coaches in the country, one of the top programs, Danny Hurley over at St. Benedict's. And those type of fundamentally sound plays show you that you're well coached.
That was Iona's first field goal in over 9 minutes. And in spite of that, down only 1. Here's Ben licking his chops with Smythe guarding him.
He sees that right there, and he wants to take Smythe into the post. Credit Smythe for holding his ground.
Here's Lewis. Gonna get 2. Yep, maybe 3.
In stereo right there.
Absolutely. Well, if Ben can't beat you off the bounce, he's going to hand it to his teammate Lewis, who certainly can do it.
Well, we talked about the seniors taking over when the game is on the line. It's on the line right now. This is when Tyrone Lewis is at his best.
The 2010 Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships are brought to you by Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, maximum energy, 0 calories. FYE, strictly for your entertainment. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by the 2010 Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships, where magic happens. And back inside the Times Union Center in downtown Albany. Saw some of the scenics there coming out of the commercial break of sunset just a few hours ago. Well, maybe
more than
a lot of hours ago. This is the 4th of our 4 quarterfinal games. And Tyrone Lewis trying to complete a 3-point play with an eye on reaching the semifinals tomorrow night. Well, Niagara is a team from the free throw line, 13 for 13, except for Nelson, who's 3 out of 6. But his teammates have been perfect.
Remember, they left the win on the foul line last time out against Fairfield.
Machado nearly lost it. Smythe fires away, and he's got one.
Well, tough finish right there. Cutting the lead back down to 1. And that was deep. That was deep with 2 guys running out at him. But Kyle Smythe's got that type of range and that type of accuracy.
And that's a big make.
Yep.
He misses that long one. Niagara gets the ball back up 4 with a chance to make it a 2 or 3 possession game.
And with a long miss like that, a long shot, a lot of times it gets you running. So you're right, that was a big make right there.
Lewis, I think, had designs on finding Edwards, instead had the ball knocked away. And it's tied up. The possession arrow points the other direction.
Machado comes up with the basketball, a little drag behind. Look at that follow through as Smythe stays with it. Terrific shooter.
You know, Rob, that's our first made 3-point shot of the second half for either side. Wow, 0 for 10 combined before that one rattled home for Smythe.
Well, his 43% that he's shooting at so far this season, the all-time mark at Iona.
Jenkins can't make it 2 in a row, but Rodriguez does put Iona back on top.
Well, and Kevin Willard put him back in the ball game with those 4 fouls and being aggressive, going to find an opportunity on the offensive board.
Smythe clears the defensive glass, and here come the Gales.
And they've got some numbers as Bilal Ben was trying to bother the outlet.
Jenkins dropping it off. McGill denied at the rim. And then the foul against Niagara.
Well, once again, they come up with a block shot, but don't come up with the basketball. Now Rodriguez coming back into the game and making his presence felt right away. Clearing terrific space. Look at him land and get right back up. That is so important. Not gathering, but hitting the floor and going right back up. There's a terrific block, but then they don't come up with the basketball. Glass, I heard him call it.
9 points, 9 rebounds now for Rodriguez. Now again, it's 15 feet. He shot it about 16 and a half, but it worked out. Let's see if he can shave a few inches off. And he does.
Hey, you know what? It's all about the result.
In the box score tomorrow, it'll look like a couple of swishes.
You got it.
And so Yeoman's work, and a nice job by Coach Willard then to get him out to protect him offense and defense with that foul trouble.
I agree 100%. You got what you needed out of him. You were stuck a little bit. A couple of big plays by Smythe and Rodriguez. Now sit him back down to protect them.
For as flat as Iona was, it's amazing to see how quickly momentum can change.
And fresh legs late in the ball game. This is where their depth can be a big factor.
Meanwhile, Niagara just standing around at the offensive end with 7 to shoot. The Purple Eagles will have it on the sideline.
And now Niagara's got to start flying around. They were flying around early. A lot of guys logging minutes. A little bit more difficult to play with that same type of energy when you're tired.
Ben's got it.
Got to attack.
Lewis is your guy. 2 to shoot. Puts it up. And it's an air ball. Iona basketball.
And late in the shot clock, instead of trying to back up and get some separation, put it to the floor, put your head down, and try and probe. Instead, settling for a very difficult, guarded, deep shot.
Cooley in, Edwards out for Niagara. As Joe Mihalik tries to find the lineup that will help him close out the deal in the final 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
And with Alejo out, you can go with the smaller, quicker lineup, and that's exactly what Mihalik does.
Machado blocked by Williamson, and here comes Lewis. One man to beat. Can't do it. Cooley, nice job to hustle back behind the play, and then the foul on the three-point shot. And Garrison with a smile on his face. And the signal is that indeed it was a three-point try, and so the senior from Niagara Falls will shoot 3 with a chance to retie the game.
So great defensive effort on the other end by Williamson to come up with a block shot. They score that, it goes to 5, and now all of a sudden Joe Mihalik probably has to take a timeout to try to regroup. Instead, they get an opportunity to tie it from the line because of the defense of Williamson.
Well, Rob Garrison was part of a basketball dynasty back in the mid-2000s. Won the New York State Federation title with Niagara Falls, along with Johnny Flynn and Paul Harris, who went on to Syracuse. Greg Gamble went on to the University of Buffalo. Tyrell Lynch, who went on to UMass. And now we go on to Vin Parisi, who's got more. Vin?
Thanks, Doug. I'll tell you, the thing that is unique about this Iona team is Kevin Willard never knows who's going to step up on any given night. Besides the fact that they were the 19th youngest team in Division I this year, they came in 3rd place, 21 wins, and only 1 double-digit scorer. They're so deep. Tonight already, 8 different guys have scored. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Vin, and that is such a good point, and it goes along with what Coach Kennedy's been talking about as well, about with this depth, you can wear down opponents, and whoever's playing well, you can try and ride that hot hand. Dwight has been one of the hot players for Iona, and he is fouled by Garrison. First foul on number 1 in gray. One and 1 for Rashawn Dwight.
You talk about not knowing who's going to step up. At times, it's multiple guys stepping up. Certainly, Rashawn Dwight's had a good ball game. Seen Kyle Smythe make a couple of big plays here late. Rodriguez coming in. And then the one constant for Kevin Willard all season long, Machado. So that's the benefit of having the depth. That's the benefit of having fresh legs late in the ball game by playing so many different guys. Also, though, at times when the game's on the line, you don't have a guy that can just take it over and score it for you.
So that's a potential drawback.
Yep.
But at the same time, might that be more difficult to defend if you don't know which way they're necessarily going?
Well, you know they're going to go with the ball in Machado's hands. Like, great hustle to save a turnover on the backcourt violation.
And then Lewis does his best to try and turn it back over. Instead, it'll stay Niagara ball. But how about Williamson flying into the backcourt to save that ball from going in to the backcourt for a turnover? Remember, he was a champion long jumper in high school, won a city and state championship, and there it is on display.
Usually landing on his feet in a long jump, at that time giving up his full body. I mean, those are the type of hustle plays that can save a ball game.
Now the folks back in Chicago have seen him leap like that before, and now with 12 on the shot clock, because of his hustle, Niagara has the possession. Now down to 8 to shoot. Ben from the high post. He's bottled up, fights his way up, and he will go to the stripe to shoot 2.
Well, that's just pure strength. You have him bottled up deep along the baseline, but he gathers and powers right through. Cutting into the open area, puts it to the floor, faces up, and now you think you got him right where you want him. Instead, he's got you right where he wants you.
And now that foul goes against Rashawn Dwight, who has fouled out. And that is a big loss for Iona. No matter how much depth you have, you don't want to lose one of your junior captains who has played well here tonight.
And you lose his defensive ability, and he's a guy that can guard multiple guys, which allows you to switch. And certainly throughout, we've seen Iona switching a lot of those perimeter screens because they've got guys of like size and like defensive ability. One of those guys now not available.
And so Bilal Ben, the 6'5 senior, at the line. He has another double-double here tonight. Make sure to follow the latest MAAC news on MAAC Twitter page. Log on to twitter.com/MAACsports. Ben does the job at the line as Niagara has done tonight. And they've got the lead once again, 53-52. 21 out of 24 as a team. The only misses so far tonight for Niagara by Nelson.
Good defense by Lewis to stay on his feet with that ball fake from Machado. Remember, Iona loves to show the basketball. They ball fake on the perimeter just about every time on a catch.
Under 4 minutes now in regulation. Shot clock down to 5. Jenkins passes back to Machado. Between the rings, he hit the iron. Ball tipped out, and it's Ben who's got the basketball.
And he was looking to try and take Smythe into the lane. Credit Kyle Smythe. He's been able to hang in there despite the fact that it looked like Ben had a strength advantage. Smythe physical enough to keep him off the spot.
Purple Eagles turn it over. Machado with the ball. McGill goes right around Edwards for 2.
Niagara on that last possession looked a little winded. Here's where if you're Joe Mihalik, you think about potentially taking a timeout. He's not going to have to right now.
I'm guessing that's a cramp. By the way, McGill reacted immediately, looking to the bench to say, "Get me out of here," as opposed to worrying about the pain. So he will get a chance to take a seat on the bench and receive some treatment as we come down to the wire in a nip and tuck ball game. One of these teams will be knocked out of the tournament. The other will move on to the semifinal round. Back on quarterfinal Saturday into Sunday here in Albany. Iona clinging to a 1-point lead. We take another look at the injury right before that last break. Keep an eye on the legs. McGill went down immediately, didn't go down, but immediately looks over to the bench and say, "Come on in." But he's not in such discomfort. He knows what's going on. Just a cramp. He high-fives his teammate on the way back up. And he has received treatment on the Iona bench. And now they've got him back behind the bench, further trying to stretch him out and make him available. Let's head back over to Vin with more from that huddle.
Thanks, Doug. And you just heard Rob alluding to the fact that Niagara's players might have been tired right there for Joe Mahalik. Kevin Willard was just yelling at his guys, saying no one is tired. Suck it up for these last 3 minutes. And he really got on his guards. He needs them to not only contest threes, but to contain dribble penetration here down the stretch. And they are working this cramp out with McGill. It doesn't look too super serious right now. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Vin. Nice job by Rodriguez to tie up Lewis. And so Niagara will keep possession on the alternate. There is Coach Willard. 1997 graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. Inbound pass deflected.
I think that may have been deflected and hit the backside of the basket support there.
I thought underneath. Underneath would be okay.
Yep, absolutely. Still in play. You see, it's been a nip and tuck game. Allow Ben with great cut to the basket. Bounce pass gets him an easy two. Instead, you try and throw it straight in and you get the deflection.
Iona with the ball up 1. 2:15 remaining in regulation. Jenkins off the glass, no. Rodriguez kept it alive. Garrison has it stripped away. Jenkins dives as he tries to call timeout. Couldn't do it before his legs swung around and went out of bounds.
Now, much like we saw from Williamson giving up his body, Jenkins doing the same. The tie up, that's the way to go after a loose ball. Yeah, see, his body before he can call timeout is over the sideline. Good job by the officials. Iona stays in the 2-3 zone. They started the last possession in the zone. You got to make sure you never lose sight of Tyrone Lewis. This is where he makes big plays.
Garrison missed everything, got it back out to Lewis, and that would be the first assist of the second half for Niagara. They had 11 turnovers and no assists. Now they get an assist off an ugly play. And even though the offense has been ugly for Niagara, here in the second half, what do you know? Up by 2.
And what do you know? They lost track of Lewis, what we were just talking about. It's a broken play, and that's when at times you lose sight of him. You're in the zone, you're matching to him. All of a sudden, now your focus goes to the basketball. He has this uncanny ability. Some guys have it. He has it. He knows when the moment's big, and he steps up and delivers.
As he winds down a prolific 4-year career, we showed last weekend his mom, Marlene Lewis, who has followed him around the entire country. She's been at virtually every game. She is here in Albany this weekend as well, hoping for a long stay through Monday night. And for Tyrone Lewis and the Purple Eagles, they wouldn't have it any other way. They are used to long stays for the MAAC tournament.
And I like the timeout right there by Joe Mahalik. His team not as deep. Guys are a little bit tired. Giving them a break allows them to set things up for a big defensive possession.
Machado poked away by Ben. Garrison goes flying. Skin against the hardwood, we hear. And a timeout given to the Iona bench. They say possession was granted.
Well, on a jump ball, possession was going to be Iona's anyway. Great hustle as everybody goes to the floor.
I don't know whose legs lost skin, but we heard at least one leg. Ben can't believe it. He's angry with Garrison, it looks like.
Yeah, because Garrison, he thought, didn't give up his body enough going for that loose ball. And certainly Ben, the guy who started that play by poking it away. As we said, late in the ball game, you can't forget about Tyrone Lewis, a big game player if there ever was one. Talked about the fact that he started his career as a freshman in the MAAC tournament, leading Niagara to the championship and garnering the MVP honors. A guy who makes huge shots, banked in that 30-footer last year in the semifinals to force the overtime against Ryder, and here making the biggest shot of the game on the last possession with that deep three. He struggled a bit from the floor, but when the game's on the line, I'll take my chances if I'm Niagara with Tyrone Lewis making a big shot.
Here is the leader for the Gale, Scott Machado. Off to Jenkins on the wing, inside. Rodriguez. No. Lewis comes away with it, and the foul called against Pradanovic.
And the only problem with throwing it into Rodriguez, good scorer inside, you give up the foul, and he's not a good foul shooter. They didn't give up the foul, yet he missed an easy one inside. Now, interestingly enough, Doug, I mean, basketball's a funny game. We talked about the fact that Niagara left a win up at Bridgeport on the foul line. They were 13 of 28 in their last regular season game from the line, and they've been terrific so far here tonight from the line. One of the reasons why they've got this lead and are able to continue to stretch it out.
Now 22 for 25 as Lewis calmly hits the first.
88%. You can't argue that if you're a coach.
Lewis on the year, about 75%. He's now got 17 points, and the lead is up to 4 for Joe Mihalik's Purple Eagles. Timeout on the floor.
Listen, listen, listen. Trying to get their attention. About 18 times.
Well, it's a late night, 12:32 a.m., and Joe Mihalik has been through this. Playing early, playing late, and he has succeeded. He wants to get across his message to his players. Well, here is what they are playing for. A trip to the semifinals tomorrow night with the second-seeded Fairfield Stags presumably tucked comfortably into their beds in their hotels and resting here in Albany.
At least the players, coaches here still scouting, trying to figure out who they're going to play in that semifinal. And for Iona, here's where, again, we talked about the fact they've got that great depth, but maybe not a go-to guy. Machado's their go-to guy. I expect them to run a high ball screen. Niagara has defended it different ways. We've seen them hedge. We've seen them slide behind. Let's see on a high ball screen whether or not they actually come out and trap.
There's the high ball screen. Williamson giving chase. Smythe off to Machado. Open three, no. Rodriguez tries to tip it out to Smythe. Niagara basketball.
Well, a good look from three by Machado, but they missed a wide open Rodriguez inside in the paint.
Tyrone Lewis, after that last ball went out of bounds, pumps his fist and looks up over our location at his mom and up at the student section and the family section for the Niagara Purple Eagles. 1 minute in regulation
and a 35-second differential between game clock and shot clock. So Iona choosing not to give up the foul. You got to get a stop. You have to rebound the basketball here if you're not going to give up the foul.
Here goes Lewis. Tough shot. Garrison after the rebound, and he's got it. And a blocking foul against Machado, and the rebound was grabbed away from McGill, who again had his leg cramp up and couldn't go up for that rebound.
As we said, if you're not going to give up the foul, you have to finish the possession. You're right, Doug. Good call. You see him limping right there. And so because you have a great defensive possession, you play it the right way. You don't give up the foul, you guard, but if you don't rebound the basketball, boy, you put yourself in a tough spot.
And that indeed is where Iona is right now, down by 4. And again, McGill heading off with the cramping in his legs. And 38.6 on the clock. And the Purple Eagles huddle at the other end of the floor is hopping. They can feel where they might wind up in the semifinal round if they can hang on here.
McGill came back into the ball game because he thought he was going to be able to not cramp up, and a tough time to come up with the cramp as you're going for the most important defensive rebound of the game. Interestingly enough, it's the Iona team with the fresh legs and all the bodies running in and out that ends up cramping up late in the ball game.
Rob Garrison and the Purple Eagles continuing to get the job done at the free throw line. He is a big part of the 21 for 21. Now 22 for 22 for everybody but Nelson. And now two huge free throws, and now Iona down 6 with the ball.
And you got to get a quick score. It doesn't have to be a 3, but you'll take an old-fashioned three-point play. That is the absolute last thing you want to do if you're Niagara. Allow them to score that quickly and put them on the line for a chance to get it down to a one-possession game. And then to top it off, allow them to get up in the full court pressure a lot easier. Well, not quite sure why the whistle blew on that one. You see Lewis backing up. Machado, the guy who's rushing out at him. But that worked out perfectly for Iona. You got to convert here from the line and get up in the full court pressure. Remember, This is the best pressing team in the MAAC. So now they've got to play to their strength. Got to force a turnover with the pressure defense.
That was the third foul against Lewis, who gets the inbound pass. Tied up. Smythe reaching in, trying to give up the foul. He and McFadden had him bottled up pretty good, but Smythe is called for the personal.
Any question that number 2 wants to go to the line? When he's holding the ball, a lot of times you want to get it out to try and get the clock moving. He just knows one thing. I'm making this. I'm carrying us.
Yep.
That's the type of confidence he's got in himself, and his teammates have that same confidence in him.
And so here is Lewis, again a 74% foul shooter on the year. But with his pedigree of being a big shot maker in big situations, you got to figure his numbers in this type of situation are going to be better than 74%. He certainly thinks they will be.
Yep, and his coach thinks it as well. If you ask Joe Mahalik who he wants taking these shots, taking these foul shots, he'd say Tyrone Lewis every single time. Now they've got to give some more defensive pressure and resistance here. Not allow Iona, not allow Machado to get right to the rim so fast.
There is Machado misfiring. And a foul on the rebound. And it goes against Williamson of the Purple Eagles.
You see so many times late in games that teams are afraid to pick up in a little full court pressure, late in the ball game, because they're afraid that it's going to get guys on a run. But you saw that just the other night with Providence, with 3.5 seconds left. No pressure in the backcourt against the basketball. Allowed Ashton Gibbs to get himself too deep up the floor and able to knock down the three. I like to see defenses try and keep him in front of you, but don't allow him to get going. Get up and give some token pressure and force him to give up the basketball. You got to keep him in front of him.
As it is the last 2 trips, Machado's been able to get right to the basket without chewing up much time. Couple of big free throws for Rodriguez.
Now you can run the baseline. You've got to get the basketball inbound. Oh, nearly a turnover. Too much distance on that pass.
And Smythe gives up the reach-in foul that will send Garrison to the line to shoot 2. 4th foul on Smythe. And Garrison, 4th most accurate foul shooter in the conference, will go to the line to shoot 2. It is amazing how good you can be at the line one day, when just a week ago, as you said, in the regular season finale, they were just the opposite.
Now another opportunity here for Iona on a make. Now they've been able to rush it up and settle for 2s. Now you got to start thinking about 3s. Down to a 5-point deficit.
Machado with contact, called for the offensive foul.
Well, he's been putting his shoulder down and try to create contact. It's worked for him a couple of possessions. That time it backfired.
We see this time the call goes in favor of Lewis, where the last time it went in favor of Machado.
Now because he tucked the ball in one hand and had that off arm, and you see the reaction. Now he makes big plays, not just big shots, whether it's coming up with the key rebound, coming up with the defensive stop, a steal. One of the things, talking to Kevin Willard earlier today, he said, this is a tough matchup. And certainly Niagara, a tough team to play. And he said, with their experience, you forget how young this Iona team is. And they haven't yet won a game in the MAAC tournament. None of the players on his roster have experienced a win inside the MAAC tournament. Where on the other side, a guy like Tyrone Lewis not only has won games in the MAAC tournament, but has won MAAC championships. And certainly that experience has come to the forefront here late in the ball game.
And for that, Tyrone Lewis is our Pepsi Max player of the game. And he's been doing it right from the moment he stepped onto the Niagara University campus 4 years ago.
Oh, and a guy who is multi-talented, plays with terrific energy, attacks the rim. He had that biggest shot on a loose ball, offensive rebound situation. They lost track of him for just a second, and that's all it takes. He knocked down that 3, extended it out to that 2-point lead, and then they've been able to hold it at bay. with some good defensive stops, a couple good timeouts by Joe Mihalik to make sure that his team, despite the fact that they don't have as deep a bench, had fresh legs, utilizing those timeouts to give them some rest, and then they've been able to come up with stops, and they've marched to the foul line and been just about perfect.
And you see our Pepsi Max player of the game, Tyrone Lewis. Joe Mihalik, during his first 11 years as head coach at Niagara, has faced Iona 5 times previously in the MAAC tournament and gone 4-1, including 3-0 in quarterfinal play. And it looks like once again, Coach Mihalik will get the better of the Gales here in the MAAC tournament. The free throw excellence continues for Bilal Ben and the Purple Eagles. 31 of 34, better than 90% on the game. Jenkins lays it in. 5-point ball game. Ben bottled up and fouled. Now, what a luxury for Niagara to have so many good free throw shooters and so many veteran cool hands that you can pass the ball into. Let's take another look at our Citizens Bank MAAC Championships tournament brackets. As Bilal Ben goes to the free throw line, we'll take a look at what awaits the second-seeded Fairfield Stags in the second semifinal tomorrow night.
Well, if you had knocked down both foul shots to extend it beyond a 2-possession game, and then you'd be comfortable maybe sneaking ahead and putting that Niagara name in. Still not over because of that missed foul shot. Even if he hits this, the Gales still down to a 2-possession game. Ben Mockford coming into the ball game, a very good outside shooter. So you get another guy that can stretch out the defense. They're still alive.
Jenkins for 3. He's got it.
More than alive. Got to get up into full court pressure. Got to come up with the steal or the quick foul. And so Niagara, who's been so good at the line for so long, those 2 misses by Bilal Ben with an opportunity to really seal this game. As we said, if you ask Joe Mihalik 100 times who he'd want on the line with 5.3 seconds left and an opportunity to extend it to a 2-possession game, he'd say Tyrone Lewis. This 3 right here, as the Gales won't go away.
And so here is Lewis back to the foul line. As you see, he is perfect.
And this is the key one. Knock this down and it's a 2-possession game.
Timeout Niagara. You know, this is a Purple Eagles team, Rob, that over the last 7:42 has 1 made field goal. But they've gotten themselves to the line and made most of their free throws to be able to take the lead and hold on to that lead.
And that made field goal was the huge 3 by Tyrone Lewis. And right now, Joe Mihalik setting things up. 2 things. Hey, if you make the foul shot, get away, no foul. We missed the foul shot, then you set up whether or not you give up the foul, not allowing Iona to throw up a prayer. Remember last year, Joe Mihalik's prayer was answered as Tyrone Lewis, when Ryder tried to foul them right here in front of us, they swung and missed a whiff on the attempted foul, and Tyrone Lewis made him pay as he banked in the 30-foot improbable prayer. So Joe Mihalik taking the timeout to set up both scenarios.
It's a 4-point ball game as Lewis calmly swishes the second free throw.
And that's the easier scenario if you're Joe Mihalik. Get away. Nobody near him. Let him shoot it.
That'll do it. In the books, it's an upset, but not really. Niagara, the number 6 seed, knocks out the number 3 seed, Iona, 68-64.
As we said, coming in, the most dangerous 6 seed in a long time in this tournament. And certainly an upset by seeds, but not surprisingly. And Kevlar Willard's team with a terrific effort, as once again their depth really helped them throughout the ball game, but the experience of Niagara really came into play coming down the stretch, especially from the guy who seems to be a hero just about every year at this time of the year, Tyrone Lewis, with another monster game coming down the stretch.
Our Pepsi Max player of the game will play another day, moving on to the semifinals tomorrow night to take on the Fairfield Stags. in semi number 2, and the Purple Eagles huddle on the sideline and say, attaboy, let's keep it alive, survive in advance, let's make it through Sunday onto Monday and get back to that championship game one more time.